A very warm welcome to you all in this series of lectures that I am going to start from today on structural equation modeling. Today, I will focus on a very brief and elementary introduction of structural equation modeling, the concept and nature of structural equation modeling, the various terminologies used, the major steps involved, like that. Before I proceed to the formal definitions of the structural equation modeling, first I would like to define what actually structure means in structural equation modeling. Basically, structure in structural equation modeling is a predefined pattern of relationship among variables. So, if we define that there are, say, five variables, four are independent variables, and all of them are predicting or related to another variable that is called dependent variable, then if we will say represent the four variables by four squares or rectangles and the fifth variable that is the dependent variable with another rectangle replaced a little far away from these four, and then when we will link all the four variables by arrows going to the dependent variable, then we can say that this is a specific structural model. So structure is basically the pattern of relationship. But whenever we talk of structure, some pictures come in our mind of physical structures like one that you are seeing in this animation. You will say that this is, yes sir, this is a structure very similar to the structure of some chemical compounds, so these are the molecular links and structures are represented. But the structure is having the same meaning whether you are defining this structure or a structure of a building or a structure of any other three-dimensional object. The essence or the core of the meaning of the structure is same. You just see this figure and focus on the central ball and say that central ball is one variable, say intelligence, and then the four other balls which are related to this big ball in the center represent some other variables. Say one ball is reasoning, the other ball is working memory, the third ball is, say, uh, the capacity to learn. So all these variables are linked with the core variable which is in the center, that is the intelligence. And we say that intelligence is reflected in reasoning, learning, working memory. So we are defining the relationship of intelligence with the variables like reasoning, working memory, learning, etc. And suppose these variables in turn are associated with some other variables which are represented in this picture by some small variables linked to those variables. So if we imagine that all the balls in this animated structure represents one or the other variables, and then these spikes which are coming out of those balls, they are defining which variable is related with which variable, and in turn which variable is related with which other variable. Then this type of relationship is called structure. So definitely this is a physical structure that you are seeing, but if we assume that these are abstract variables, not like these balls, and when we define the relationship very similar to this, then that relationship is basically called structure. So if we say that, say, lifestyle and stress, they are related to health, they are causally linked to health, then this relationship pattern of stress, lifestyle, and health, that stress is leading to health problems, lifestyle is leading to health problems, will form what is called a structure, and the whole model is called structural equation model. So, and why we use term equation? Because whenever we define the link of a set of variables with another variable or another set of variables, then that relationship can be represented in terms of equations. For example, if there are three variables, say x1, x2, x3, and we are assuming that these three variables predict another variable, say called y, then we will define the relationship that x1 is causing y, so we will draw one arrow from x1 to y, x2 to y, x3 to y, and we are assuming that all these three variables are determining the or predicting the variable y. Then this, and at the same time we are using only the orthogonal component of the x1, x2, x3, and if you are not aware of this, please go through my video lecture on multiple regression analysis. There I have explained. Then we can put covariance arrows, bidirectional arrows linking x1 to x2, x1 to x3, and x2 to x3. And then this model will be very similar to the regression model. And this regression model, and this is representing a structure. Why it is a structure? As I said, that a structure is a predefined set of relationship among variables. So these arrows are defining how variables are linked or related with each other. And then this model can be represented in terms of equation. We can say, for example, beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 plus beta 3 x3 is equal to y. And you all know, if you know the multiple regression, then beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, they are regression coefficients. And using this weighted linear combination, we are representing one equation, and that equation will be called a structural equation. But in structural equation modeling, we go beyond regression and factor analysis. And in next slide, I am going to define structural equation modeling in terms of those statistics which you are already familiar with. So basically, structural equation modeling can be conceived or maybe conceptualized as a hybrid statistical technique which includes such statistical techniques or procedures like multiple regression analysis, factor analysis. So it is a combination of statistical techniques like factor analysis and multiple regression analysis. And it may include even other specialized version of a number of statistics. So ANOVA and COA, these statistical models can also be included in the structural equation modeling. So structural equation modeling is very similar to the multiple regression analysis, and to some extent very similar to factor analysis. It depends on for what purpose we are using structural equation modeling. If we are using to confirm a hypothesis about a factor structure, then that will be very similar to that structural equation model will be very similar to the factor analysis. And when we are uh, going to test a model in which we are defining or we are trying to predict one or other variables based on a set of other variables, say based on a set of predictors, we are trying to predict some one or more criterion, then that structural relationship will be very similar to the multiple regression analysis. So, in simpler terms, structural equation modeling is basically a combination of these techniques, but it goes beyond the conventional multiple regression analysis and factor analysis. And in next slide, I will show you. And one thing is that in structural equation modeling, simultaneous multiple regression analysis can be performed. So, if we are having, say, two or three different multiple regression analysis models, we can combine all those two and three together if the theory permits, and then we can test all the three models together. And this is not possible in the conventional multiple regression analysis. So, in this way, the structural equation modeling is though very similar to multiple regression analysis or factor analysis, but it goes beyond. How? One thing is that we can test simultaneous multiple regression models or ANOVA models, or even we can do multi-level multiple regression analysis or multi-level analysis of variance. In terms of purpose, if we have to define structural equation models or structural equation modeling, then the purpose of a structural equation modeling is to examine a set of relationship between one or more independent variables and one or more dependent variables for data which may be obtained from one sample or several samples, then that will be a cross-sectional version of the structural equation model. Or we can follow up the same sample over several occasions, and then that will constitute the longitudinal version of the structural equation model. Generally, such modeling is called growth modeling or growth curve modeling. Coming to the next slide, focusing on the conceptual meaning of structural equation modeling, we can say that it is an extension of or it grows out of multiple regression analysis and serves very similar purpose as it is served by the multiple regression analysis. But this is done in a more powerful way which takes into account many more things which are not possible in conventional multiple regression analysis. For example, the interactions of variables can be modeled in structural equation modeling. We can handle even non-linearities in structural equation models and structural equation modeling. Correlated independent variables are considered a very big problem. They pose the problem of multicollinearity, but they can also be handled in structural equation models. Measurement errors are modeled. Any measurement, if we are using any model, we measure the variables using some tools, say psychometric tools or any other tool or technique, experimental procedure. But all measurements are fraught of having the danger of some measurement errors. And These measurement errors are generally not taken into account uh, very explicitly in the multiple regression analysis, but these measurement errors can be modeled and estimated in structural equation models. Similarly, correlated error terms. If few of the error terms are likely to be correlated with each other, we can allow the correlation or we can allow the errors to covary together and then test the model. Similarly, multiple latent independence variables or multiple latent dependent variables may also be modeled or may be used in this structural equation modeling approach. And these latent independent variables are very similar to what is called factor. So a latent independent variable is represented by multiple indicators or observed variables. Very soon you will be familiar with this in the next slides. So we can model multiple independent, latent independent variables as well as multiple latent dependent variables. Taken together, then we may say that the structural equation models or structural equation modeling may be used as a more powerful alternative to multiple regression analysis, path analysis, or factor analysis, or time series analysis, and analysis of covariance. So, all these statistical techniques are having their independent existence, their independent algorithms, but all these analysis can be performed using the structural modeling approach, and that too with a more powerful way. So, to put it in other words, we can say that the path analysis, factor analysis, or multiple regression analysis may be considered as a special case of structural equation models. So, structural equation models are, or structural equation modeling is a very broader general case, and the factor analysis and path analysis are the special cases of the structural equation modeling. In other words, we can say that structural equation modeling is basically the extension of the general linear model on which multiple regression is also based, and other statistics like ANOVA, analysis of covariance, they are also based on the general linear model, and therefore structural equation modeling may be considered a simple extension of these general linear models. There are other terms that are used to represent structural equation models. So, covariance structural models is another name of a structural equation model. Similarly, sometimes it is called as latent variable models, linear structural relationship models, or in brief, Lisserel models, structural equations with latent variables, analysis of moment structure models, and the Lisserel is a name for SEM structural equation model, and Lisserel is also a name of the software that is used for doing structural equation modeling. Similarly, analysis of moment structure models is an alternative name for structural equation model, but AMOS is a statistical software too that can be used for doing structural equation modeling. Now let us move a little forward. So the structural equation modeling conveys two key aspects of the procedure. The first is that the causal processes under study are represented by a series of structural equations, and those structural equations are very similar to regression equations. And these structural equations or structural regressions equations can be pictorially displayed also to have better conceptualization of the model and the theory underlying it. So we have to remember these two things, that the variables under study are having a predefined pattern of causal relationship, and those causal relationships can be modeled in SEM by a series of structural equations, and these structural equations can be modeled pictorially also to have us a more clear conceptualization of the theory under study. So, in structural equation models, the pattern of relationship among variables, whether those variables are observed variables or unobserved, or they may involve both. Unobserved variables are latent variables, and observed variables are directly measured variables. I will define it again in the next slide. So, the relationship among variables, they represent a relationship structure. So, again, I will reiterate that structure in the structural equation modeling is basically a defined pattern of relationship among variables, whether it is a confirmatory factor analytic model or whether it is a path analytic model. We define how variables in that study are related with each other, and this pattern of defined relationship forms what is called structure. And these structures can be represented in terms of structural equations, which may be very similar to the regression equations. So let us conclude, summarize. We can say that structural equation modeling is basically a multivariate statistical procedure which is aimed for or aimed at testing whether a set of variances and covariances in a given covariance matrix fits a specified structure or not. So we develop a model based on earlier theory and research, then we collect data, and then we try to see whether the model structural relationship among variables basically fits the pattern of relationship in the data or not. So how this modeling is done, I will repeat it again in simpler terms. First, we have to state the pattern of relationship, how variables are interrelated. And this may be based on earlier theory, the experience of the researcher, the past published research papers, or a combination of all these. And based on this, we believe that the variables under study will be related in a particular way. And then we often represent that pattern of relationship in terms of path diagram or path analysis models, which are also called structural relationship model, or in terms of confirmatory factor analytic models, which are also called measurement models. So the first thing is to develop a path analytic model or a measurement model or confirmatory factor analytic model. And how these models are developed? These models are developed based on earlier theory, earlier research, and the experience of the researcher. Then we test the variance and covariances observed in our data set, and we try to see or examine whether these variances and covariances, the structure of the variance and covariance observed in the data, fits with the model specified in the first step or not. And for this, we have a lot of statistical output or results that includes goodness of fit indices, parameter estimates, standard errors for the numerical coefficient in the linear equations. And based on all these statistical parameters and goodness of fit indices, we decide whether the model obtained with the data fits with the predefined model or not. If it is fit, then we accept the model. If it is not fitting, if the predefined model is not fitting with the data, then we reject the model. This is the simple flow of steps in doing structural equation modeling. Now, I will introduce the commonly used terminology in structural equation modeling. First, we should know measured variables, the variables that the researcher have directly measured using some psychometric tool or some experimental procedure. And these measured variables are also called observed variables, indicators, or manifest variables in the structural equation modeling language or design. These observed or indicator variables may be classified as predictors and outcome variables, or even predictor, mediator, moderator, and outcome variables when we are going to study the path analytic models. And generally, these observed variables are, when we represent the structural equation models pictorially, then in that pictorial representations, squares or rectangles are generally used to represent the measured or manifest variables. Similarly, in structural equation models, we may encounter with such variables which are not directly observed or directly measured. They are basically unobserved variables. They are called latent variables. For example, the factor in factor analytic terminology is a latent variable. Say intelligence. Intelligence is a latent variable which is reflected in such indicators or observed variables like reasoning, working memory, etc. So, latent variables are basically unobserved variables. They are modeled on the basis of observed variables or indicator variables or manifest variables. So, these latent variables are basically the variables which are assumed to determine the indicator variables, and they are generally represented in pictorial diagrams by circles or oval shaped uh, or oval shape. Another term is error. Error may be defined as the variance which have not been explained in our model. So the residual variance or the leftover variance after prediction of a measured variable is error. But a similar term also exists, which is also the leftover variance after prediction of a factor, but that is called disturbance. I will make a distinction between these. When we call a leftover or residual variance as error variance, and when we call the leftover or residual variance as disturbance. Another term is exogenous variable. Exogenous variable is that variable which predict other variables but are not being predicted by any other variable. So let us see this model on the right side. Here you can see SES. SES is not predicted. There is no arrow coming towards SES. These arrows define if the arrow is coming from SES to alienation, then this is suggesting that SES is determining alienation. So this is the direction of the relationship. But SES itself is not predicted or determined by any other variable. So SES is an exogenous variable. On the other hand, the endogenous variable is that variable which is predicted by other variables. For example, these alienation 1967 and alienation 1971, these two variables are predicted by socioeconomic status, SES, and therefore these two variables will be called endogenous variable. But we do not use different shapes, the same, and these two shapes are in represented by oval or circles. Therefore, these are latent variables. Why SES latent variable? Because this is not directly observed. We have observed two variables and we assume that these SES is reflected by these two variables. Now see the residuals of alienation is represented by D1, D2, and here the residuals have been represented by E1, E2. So error variances are generally associated with exogenous variables, but endogenous variables, and generally if endogenous variables are latent, then latent endogenous variables have errors, but those errors are not called errors, they are called disturbances. Here in this, these are also endogenous variables, but they are observed variables. Why they are endogenous? Because this variable is determining this variable is determining this variable. But for endogenous variable, we are also using the term E3, E4, E5, E6. So what is the difference? So when the measurement error occurs for a latent variable, then the error associated with latent variable is called disturbance, and error associated with exogenous observed variables are or endogenous observed variables are called errors. So the residual variance associated with either exogenous or endogenous but observed variables are labeled as errors, and the residuals or errors associated with latent variables are called disturbances. So these are the terms which we will often encounter when we will be learning how we do these modelings and how we test these models. Some other commonly used terminology includes direct effect and indirect effect. These two terms are often encountered when we test structural relationship model or also called path analysis model. So direct effect is basically the effect of one variable over the other. So there is no third variable lying in between the relationship of two variables. The total variance in the outcome is assumed to be caused by the predictor variable and only the predictor variable. But if we assume that the variation in the outcome variable is to some extent linked with the predictor variable, but to some extent it is also linked with the effect of predictor variable on a third variable, which is often called mediator, then that type of effect will be called indirect effect. Say if Vx is the predictor variable, y is the outcome variable, and m is another variable which is a mediator variable. And if x is influencing m, suppose m is written here, and m in turn is influencing y, then x is also having an indirect effect on y through m. So such effects are called indirect effects. So indirect effect occurs always via some one or more variables. Similarly, I have defined confirmatory factor analysis. So based on theory, we redefine a factor structure, and using structural equation modeling, we try to test how far the predefined factor structure fits with the data. So confirmatory factor analysis may be considered as a hypothesis testing version of the factor analysis. In factor analysis is generally exploratory in nature. We don't know what is the structural relationship among the variables. We do factor analysis and we arrive at a factor structure. But if factor structure is already known, for example, 16PF, it says that there are 16 factors of personality, and we want to test the validity of that 16 factor structure of the personality, then that factor analysis will be called confirmatory factor analysis. Similarly, we use term covariance structure, and it is basically the relationship based on variances and covariances. So when we model the relationship among variances and covariances, then the resulting relationship, that is the resulting structure, is basically a covariance structure. But when in this covariance structure, we also allow estimation of the intercepts or the means, then that covariance structure will be called mean structure, in which means are also included in the model. Now, the models may be of different types. The confirmatory factor analysis model is generally called as measurement models, in which the latent variables are often linked with observed variables, and latent variables are assumed to cause variation in the observed variables. And this type of measurement model is called reflective factor structure model. But if we assume that observed variables are causing variations in the latent variables, or latent variables are basically the sum of the observed variables or is determined by the observed variables, then that type of measurement model is called formative factor structure model. So measurement model is basically restricted to confirmatory factor analysis model. And the path analytic models are called structural model or structural relationship models. And in this model, we link the observed or even latent variables, and we define the causal relationship of the observed and the latent variables. Some models involve both measurement models as well as the structural relationship models. When both components are present in a model, then many researchers use the term full model, complete model, or simultaneous model. So, a full model or complete model is a measurement model plus a structural relationship models. In structural relationship models, the models may be either recursive models or non-recursive models. In recursive model, the direction of the cause is unidirectional. It always flows from one variable to the other. So it is a unidirectional causal model. Whereas in non-recursive model, the reciprocal or feedback effects are also modeled. Suppose there are two variables x and y. In recursive model, we will draw one arrow from x going through y, and it is representing that variation in y is caused by x. But we have sufficient reason or theory that the variation in x may also be caused by y, then we will draw another arrow which will flow from y through x. And if both arrows, both directions are present, x to y and y to x, then such reciprocal relationship, why it is reciprocal? We are saying that x is determining y and y is determining x. So they are mutually determining each other. Such mutual determination relationship or reciprocal relationship or feedback effect models are generally called non-recursive model. Now, with these pictorial representations, I would like to show you what you have heard up till now in words. They will be more clear. So this is one representation of measurement model. This circle is showing that this is a latent variable we have not observed, and this latent variable is reflected by these three indicators or observed variables. And we are assuming that variation in the observed variables is because of the latent variable. For example, you may put here intelligence. It is a latent variable, and intelligence is causing variation in the level of reasoning of an individual. If an individual is high in IQ, then his reasoning will be better, his learning will be better, his memory will be better. Say it is reasoning, learning, and memory. But it is not the other way, that if reasoning is better, learning is better, then these variables together are determining intelligence. No, we are having intelligence and therefore our reasoning is good. It is not that we are having good reasoning and therefore we are intelligent. And here you can notice that all these observed variables have been linked with error terms. This is one example of path analytic model or structured relationship models. This is exogenous variable which is assumed to be causally linked with these three variables. So this variable is predicting all these three variables, but this is not being predicted by any other variable. So this is exogenous, but all these three variables are endogenous variables. And these two endogenous variables in turn are determining this variable, and therefore this variable is also an endogenous variable, and all endogenous variables have been linked with error terms. So we have modeled errors that the measurement of either of these variables is not perfect. There is some measurement error. When we will combine these two models, that is this measurement model and structural model in one single model, and we will test the whole model together, then that model is generally called full model, complete model, or simultaneous model. Here there is a latent variable linked with three indicators, and this latent variable have been assumed to cause variation in these three variables, and then these two variables in turn are causing variations in this final variable. Then this type of relationship up to here, this will be called structural relationship model, and only this part will be called measurement model. But since we have used or combined both measurement model and structural relationship model or path analytic model together, such models are called full or simultaneous or complete models. As I said earlier, that measurement models are generally called as confirmatory factor analysis models. So I am representing the same three indicator and one latent variable. This latent variable will be the factor, and these x1, x2, x3 are the indicators. And whenever we test the model, I will tell in detail in next slides. We put one constant. Here you will see that one is written. This is putting a constant, that if this is one, then we are free to estimate what will be the value of the coefficient of these two paths. Similarly, structural relationship models are also called path analysis model, and I have used some variables so this model is showing how well-being is determined by education, income, and this variable. So this variable is causing variation in level of education and income. Education is also influencing income, and in turn education and income is influencing the well-being of an individual. So, and this is our assumption, this is our belief based on theory and research. We test how far this belief represented in this form of model is fitting with the actual data. If we get a good fit, then we accept this model, otherwise we reject the model. Now, when we do structural equation modeling, we adopt three different types of approaches, or there are three different types of scenarios or situations in which we operate while doing structural equation modeling or while testing structural equation models, as defined by Joroskok 1993. The first one is called strictly confirmatory scenario. The second is alternative model scenario, and the third one is model generating scenario. In strictly confirmatory scenario, we define a single model based on some theory. Then we collect data, test the model fit of the hypothesized model, and if the model fits, then we accept the model, and if the model is not fitting, we reject the model. We do not try to make any further modifications in the model. So in a strict confirmatory scenario, either we accept the model or we reject the model. There is no scope for further modification and then retesting. In alternate model scenario, we propose several alternative or competing models, and all those models are not arbitrarily proposed, but all those alternative models are also proposed on some theoretical ground based on some research. And then among that subset of alternative models, we test all the models and try to select which one is the most appropriate or best fitting model that can represent the sample data that we have obtained. I would like to explain this in terms of some concrete variables so you may have better understanding. For example, I assume that, or my belief is based on research, that the level of health or health related problems of any individual is related with two variables. One is stress and another is lifestyle. So if my assumption is that stress and lifestyle, they are influencing the health problems of an individual, then I will put two square or rectangles, one for stress and one for lifestyle, and then I will draw two arrow from stress and lifestyle going to the health. This is one model. But based on the theory and research, I am having another alternative conceptualization too. I am assuming that the level of stress is basically dependent on what type of lifestyle I am adopting. The sedentary lifestyle is likely to be associated with high stress, whereas the more active lifestyle is likely to be associated with low level of stress. So again, I will represent one model or draw one pictorial model in which the lifestyle and stress will be as it is, and two arrows will be going to health, one from lifestyle to health, another from stress to health. But there will be one additional arrow from lifestyle to stress, that the level of stress is determined by lifestyle. Another model that I can conceptualize is that it is basically the lifestyle which is influencing stress, and then the level of stress in turn is determining the health of an individual. So I will draw three boxes in or one line, and then I will put one arrow from lifestyle to stress and then another arrow from stress to health. Now you see there are three alternative models involving the three variables. So this is alternative or competing model scenario. Now the question comes, which one is true? Which one is better explanation of the data? Which one is better explanation of the theory or the model? So we will test all these three models, and the model which is found best fitting or most appropriate will be retained, and we will draw our conclusions and develop our theory based on that best fitting or most appropriate model. So many of the times we operate in this alternative model scenario. And the third one is model generating scenario. And remember that we enter in this scenario when we do not find a good fit model either in the strictly confirmatory model or in alternative model scenario. So, when the researcher having postulated and rejected a theoretically derived model on the basis of its poor fit to the sample data, then she proceeds in an exploratory fashion to modify and re-estimate the model. So when we find that the model is not fitting with the sample data, then we try to modify the data. We may remove some of the paths or some of the variables even. We may model correlated errors. We can do a lot of modifications. When I will be lecturing on how to do these structural equation modeling, then I will be discussing in more detail. So there are different types of modifications possibles, and based on that modification, we try to arrive at a model that best fit with the data. But remember, this model generating scenario, the main purpose is not to somehow arrive at a best fitting model by modifying or remodifying and remodifying our earlier model. But the major purpose of this model generating scenario is to locate the source of misfit in the model. So, what actually was causing the misfit? Why the model was not fitting? So, this information is provided by this model generating scenario. And this model modification and retesting may be either theory driven or maybe data driven. Suppose one model is rejected, then we can modify our theory that what theory we have adopted may not be correct, and then we will follow some other theory, and according to that theory we will change the pattern of relationship among variables and then retest it, and if the models come fit we will say no, this theory is more likely to be represented by this model. But sometimes it may be data driven. So there are some algorithms, for example, when we will be using MOS, they provide some modification indices. And if modification indices are higher, say 18, 10, 20, 30, 40, they suggest that these paths or these variables should be removed from the data. So sometimes we do the model re-specification and model modification based on theory, sometimes based on data. But remember, the final objective is to find a model that is both substantively meaningful and statistically well-fitting. So it is not that we will modify the model and arrive at a good model fit. But suppose that model is very difficult to have any theoretical meaning or theoretical explanation, then the purpose has been defeated. So model generating scenario not only tries to modify the model and arrive at a best fitting model, but we arrive at a best fitting model in such a fashion that the model must be substantively meaningful. It must be having some theoretically meaningful relationship that can be explained or defined. So these are the three more scenarios in which we generally do. Ideally, it is assumed that the structural equation modeling is basically a confirmatory statistical analysis technique, and therefore a strict confirmatory model is best fit. But in practice, we more follow the alternative model and model generating scenario. Now, linking from the definition, coming to the question why use SCM? So, why not regression analysis and why not factor analysis? So, compared to the traditional multivariate procedures, which are not capable for correcting for measurement errors, structural equation models provide explicit estimates of these parameters. So the measurement errors can be modeled and estimated in structural equation modeling. Similarly, we can work with in conventional regression analysis, we work with only observed variables. But in structural equation modeling, we can make predictions not only using observed variables, but also by using unobserved variables. And finally, the beauty of structural equation modeling is that is not present in other multivariate techniques that I have mentioned earlier, that we can simultaneously include several independent prediction models and test them. So these are some of the reasons why we should prefer structural equation modeling over multiple regression analysis, factor analysis, analysis of variance and covariance. Now, here I would stop. What we cannot do with the structural equation models. What we can do, I have discussed. So, two things should be very clear. Though it is called causal modeling also, and we model the causal directions in the relationship, that which variable is leading to which variable is predicting or determining which variable. But despite a very good fit of that causal model, we cannot infer the cause effect relationship. So, a good fit structural equation model doesn't mean that it is a proof of causation. So, causation cannot be proved using structural equations models. They provide some clue, hint that this is the likely causation model, and to establish the causation, we will have to do some experimental research in which independent variables, the predictor variables, must be temporarily prior. The variation in them should come temporarily prior to variation in the dependent variable, and we will have to also control the extraneous variable so that we can infer that the observed predictive relationship is not the spurious relationship. So these three conditions should be met, and that is possible only in experimental paradigm. Similarly, we cannot prove that a model is correct. We can simply reject or accept a model, but acceptance of a model does not mean that that model is correct. So, we are having in any study, we are having a very big population of model. I have written all models. Among all those possible models, There may be a subset of models which on testing may be found consistent with the data. When I am saying consistent with the data means the models may very well fit with the sample data. But this well-fitting model does not prove the causation, or it also not provide any information and proof for the correctness of the model. Among this, models which are consistent with the data, a very small set of models will be present which may be consistent with the reality. But to determine this, we will have to adopt experimental research, and then we can infer which models are consistent with reality. So the causations modeled in the ESEM may be true, may be close to reality, or may not be close to reality. So I tried to define some of the basic terms. I tried to define structural equation modeling. Towards end, I would say, and it will be clear to you that when we can do simultaneous multiple regressions, we can call SEM as simultaneous equation modeling also, because we simultaneously try to solve several multiple regression problems. So, a simple, though it is not the common term, but it will be a good mnemonic for you that structural equation modeling is basically simultaneous equation modeling in which we simultaneously test several regression type equations in one model itself. So, thank you very much. In next class, I would introduce some of the other basic theoretical aspects, how the structural equation models are tested, what are the model fit indices, and how we interpret those model fit indices. And then after that, I will come to how we conduct the structural equation modelings using